we won't talk about love in this video. Tachadi will make a different video where
We'll form a blues band.
blues. How do I start? Welcome to Space and Company. Is that a valid opening? I guess. Welcome to Space and Company. This is a. Firstly, this video is going to be informal. I assume. I don't think we'll, fall into the ambit of
All our videos are informal.
Let's talk about the name of the band. Okay. Space. We're called Space. Now we're called Space and Company. What's with the name, Atharva?
So I think space is basically how we got the name, was obviously because when we play music, there's a certain section or there's certain part in a song where we do something. That something is something I can't explain obviously, but that section can be space, and that I think that's something that defines our band in a way.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah. And when before Space began as Space, playing the music that we play, we were at Vaishali, and it used to apply to all sorts of songs and music. So we used to be like, Still Loving You, Space. And then the next song. So it even applied for Scorpions or Aerosmith, all these bands that we could never imagine playing now, but we still love. But Space was like this universal thing that did not necessarily adhere to one form of music or one style of genre, or like a band, or
So a pig in the blanket, basically.
Yeah.
A pig in the blanket. The meat is the music, and everything that surrounds it is space. Is space. So that's how we started, right? That's what Space was.
Vaishali is where we started.
Couldn't be more of a Pune band if we didn't start at Vaishali. Wow. What made it to Space and Company today? Our Instagram page is called Space and Company today.
Now.
Yeah.
So what is Space and Company?
Well, I think we started as a 4-piece band, but we never had an explicit discussion about strictly sticking to these set of people, because all of us were busy. We were doing some certain things. You were busy. You were doing certain things, and
Hi Paddy. The four of us include the three of us sitting here and Pradyumna. Hi Paddy.
and I think Pradyumna, after he went to the US to study or whatever, this was a decision that we had to make, because it doesn't really stand for company. I think it's more of a community rather than a company. And then we had 4 bass players playing with us, 3 drummers up until now, and so it's like a communal effort. And my dad has played with us a bunch of times, and so Space and Co really stands for a unification of different people and different musicians.
More than those 4 people.
So it made more sense. And Space is like a very simple name as well. And I'm sure there's a bunch of bands.
I think there's a small ring to it.
Yeah. and also it was a tribute to Dead and Co, because Dead and Co has been a band that seems to reminisce the whole the idea of the Grateful Dead, and being a time machine band, and we are also that. So kind of like a tribute and an honor.
So sadly, the thing is that when people expect an answer about something, they expect some definite brackets. They know what they want to know what they're going to get at a performance.
Yeah.
That's why they'll come watch us. So I used to tell them ki, we're a Grateful Dead tribute band.
Mm.
So then they asked, what's the Grateful Dead? I said, come to the show.
That's one way to get people to the show.
No, because it's difficult to explain the kind of music that the Dead played. It's kind of difficult to explain the time in which the music was conceived.
Yeah.
You can't describe the 60s
Or the
psychedelic
kind
era.
of music that was.
So you can't go ahead and explain ki, in the 60s psychedelic era, Jerry was sitting down in San Francisco and doing God knows what, and he came up with certain songs, and those songs we are going to play. You can't explain them.
Yeah.
It's a juggernaut.
It's a juggernaut.
And it's a juggernaut that you can't bring down. Especially in American history, it's not something that people take lightly.
One of the rare good things that comes from America, I would like to say.
Yeah.
But
there we go. We're a political band.
Are we a politically correct band? Or what? But yeah, that's I think one bracket that we can put space into,
So I would like to say that Space started out. Space, just the idea of Space was essentially to cover the Grateful Dead. We have always been people who play music that no one else plays. We always want the listeners, the audience to find something new on the plate. Explore something new.
Yeah.
And hence the idea of Space was born, where we did Grateful Dead covers, where we explored even other sounds later on. We'll get to that in the next parts of the video. But yeah, so that is what Space was for me, an entity which moved around, an entity which explored things, and an entity which honored some really good music and some really good musicians. We all found our distinct styles of playing when we started working on Space. So that's something that I'll forever cherish. You'll forever cherish.
Style.
For sure.
That's for
You'll
sure.
forever cherish. Because that's how we found our style, right? I'm good at this. This is what I can do for sure. Hey, this is something that we cleared up. So that is why I'm glad about Space and community.
But I Grateful Dead, but we started our first gig was not the
The
Grateful
Dead songs.
Not Grateful Dead, for sure.
Because we
Yes.
intended to form a band for the Grateful Dead, but then we didn't end up playing the first.
So I think the idea behind that gig was that we are a Dead band, but we are not going to play Dead covers in that show. We are going to
Just
we're going to-
introduce the band.
we are going to play songs that are inspired from the Dead.
Right.
Right. That show was the 80s. We played at the 80s, a small cubby hole in Baner, Pune. This was in December 2018.
2018.
Wow,
Yeah.
that was 3.5
Our first
years
December
ago.
28th.
28
Yeah.
December 2018, we played the 80s. It was the four of us, the three of us and Pradyumna. It was actually a fest. It was the first iteration of Space and Company, where we had three bands. Space was the headlining act. And please tell us what the show was for you, what the set list included, how you approached the show, Randy.
So we included all these songs that obviously Pradyumna and Atharva knew because they were not really playing the Dead at the time. I mean, they were just listening to Dead.
They were getting into it, yeah.
And we were obviously into the Dead, so we included a Black Crowes song. Black Crowes is closely related to the
Very
Dead
much,
because
yeah.
of their, Chris Robinson and the whole Mark Ford thing. And then we did a John Fogerty cover by CCR, which is also very close to Dead because
They were in the same time,
Both
together, in the
together.
same space.
And then we did a Rolling
The
Stones
Rolling
song.
Stones, yeah.
I think what was it called? You can't always.
You
do-
can't always get.
You can't
what you
always get what you want.
want. And the number, Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Jumpin' Jack Flash.
But you can't always get was one of those songs because it was covered by Tennessee Trucks
Yes,
Band. And we
Tennessee
saw that
Trucks Band,
version
yeah.
and we
Yes.
said we have to add this to
Yep.
the set list and so it was a mix of things. It was still close to the Dead, but it was more of a marriage of the things that became inspired by the Dead.
Right.
Not
Right.
like really inspired by Dead, but maybe
it's
close
it's
to
an
that.
offshoot. It's an offshoot.
Yeah.
You value the offshoot.
Yeah. So we played it was quite a heavy set actually. It was not something that we
I mean,
incorporated.
it was
later.
heavy.
Yeah, it was quite heavy.
What was your favorite song of the set? Do you remember the set?
No, I think my favorite song of the set was Rosalie. I think because that it was the first time that I heard the song and we
Yeah.
played the song and I
What a
think
song.
I mean it's a beautiful song, beautiful arrangement, and I think the best part of that song was each one of us had like our own parts,
Right.
and we didn't have our own parts in a way, if I have to say,
Yeah.
in space arrangement.
Yeah, of course.
So I mean, it was like a spontaneous thing for us while playing the whole song, and I think that's the highlight of
of the 80s gig. The
I think
80s
for me,
gig.
yeah.
The 80s was very nice. 80s was a very comfortable, very warm, and
What was your highlight?
my highlight of the 80s. Wow, I don't remember a lot of the 80s. I distinctly remember playing Rosalie because I remember making eye contact with Shanti because it was a small space. So
Right.
Atharva was standing in front, me and Shanti in the back, and Pradyumna in the corner. And I distinctly remember looking at Shanti and both of us marveling at Atharva because he was, I don't know, 3 buttons down uh, at making out with the microphone and singing Rosalie loud. I distinctly remember those. I have visuals of those few moments. So that was very nice because that marked of a coming. It was, like, how the birth of Christ is celebrated. Hana. This was that for me at least because I was playing in the other 2 bands that day.
Exactly.
But this was very good.
Yeah.
This was different. This was something new. I could sense it while playing. This what we are doing is something that is brilliant. We played Jack White in that set.
Yeah, I know.
We played Steady as She Goes in that
We
set.
did a raconteurs.
Raconteurs.
Yeah,
That
Raconteurs.
was a good one.
That was a good one. I mean, so we were still.
It's been 3.5 years since we played that now.
Yeah. No, we were still getting a hang of the sound that we want, right?
Yeah.
We didn't know if we were a jam band. We didn't know if we were a classic rock band.
Yeah.
Kites, no idea.
There was no specific genre that we were
Yeah.
going for it.
And yet it was still defined to music that no one has heard of.
Right.
Music that you may not have heard of. Music bands that you will not have heard of or something like that. Bands that no one plays in live music in the local scene at least.
Yeah.
So that was nice. So that was the end of 2018, and what I would like to talk about here is the year 2019. 1 year before COVID.
Bunch of gigs, man.
That was what? Wait, let me count. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We did 8 gigs
Right.
in
Yeah.
2019.
Right. I mean, that's a good number. I mean, considering that we were doing a lot of things in our own lives
No,
and
it's
doing the gigs.
no, it's a big number because
We were just 1 year into the.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a brilliant number because
And those are, I think, those gigs are in 6 months. Because 6 months after
Yes.
the
Yeah.
December gig, we didn't play.
we didn't
We didn't play till
We were only
May.
focusing on, practicing,
Yeah,
jamming
right,
every
right,
month,
right.
getting the dead
Yeah.
songs, the jams together.
Correct.
That was, I mean,
Yeah, so the first gig in 2019 was in June.
yeah.
So yeah, 6 months, nothing.
Yeah. But a lot of practice.
Of course. You have to do that.
I mean, it's not like we weren't together as a band for those
True that.
5-6 months.
So in 2019 we played gigs which were quite different. There were some gigs which were intimate, very small setting, small setup of sound as well. Songs were different, setlist was different, the vibe was different. We played some big gigs, big places, big sounds, long sets.
Yeah.
So there's a place in Kothurud called Cafe Apo. Big
Yeah.
shout out to those people. They're very nice
Amazing
people.
place, good
Amazing
food.
place, good food, and when we are playing, there's good music as well.
Yeah.
So we played 2-3 gigs at Cafe Apo in 2019. What would you talk about Cafe Apo gigs? Because see, the way I see it, that place stands out. We haven't done many intimate gigs,
Yeah.
but the ones we have done are here.
Yeah. And we played twice that year, I think. Yeah.
So
Thrice.
thrice that year. We
Yeah.
played thrice that year.
So, I mean, I like to think that every band goes through a phase.
Mhm.
There are bands that go through gigs where they don't really get the kind of sound that they
Yep.
need, especially when they're hearing themselves. And that's a learning process for every band ever, because
Yeah,
even
always.
the Dead went through that, and Fish went through that, or all these bands just started in the garage, or playing backyards, everything. They had these. So for us, that was like it was in our backyard in a way.
Of course.
It was very
It
close.
was.
Yeah. So the one
But
thing that
we played it
stands
on
out
one monitor, and
Correct.
remember.
Exactly. We had one monitor
among the 4 of us,
and a small mix board.
6-channel input or something.
Yeah, 6-channel mix board.
So
And
that is where we learned to compromise and adjust with whatever resources and sound
Yeah.
that we have,
yeah.
and not have a 90-minute sound check, because the gig lasted 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But we-
And also, yeah,
maybe more, but
maybe more. But I think what different to that time was that I mean we skipped that small part where we actually released our song, our original.
Okay, fine. Yeah,
within
go
a-
ahead.
within
Go
a couple
ahead.
of months,
Go ahead.
Yeah, in those 5 months where
Yeah.
we didn't play.
where we were just exploring.
Yeah. So we just had like our original out, and so that's what we played.
That was Valentine's 2019.
Valentine's of
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah.
14th Feb 2019 we released a song called Space by Space.
Very
How creative of us.
yeah.
Very unique. And so I think that's what we played for the first time. That's actually where we played for the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And
nice.
and in a different setting also, because since it was like a small setup, we had just like cajon,
Yeah, we had gone, yeah.
and
Yeah.
we just decided to have one electric and an acoustic and a bass.
Yes.
So like
yes.
small setup, but like it's full.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yep.
So I think that's where everything changed, because I mean you don't really need like a whole drum kit, right? For
Yeah.
everything. I mean you do, but that's
As far as I'm not played a lot of music, but one thing that is for sure is that for music you don't need a big drum kit, you don't need a guitar, you just need a
Yeah.
very nice mind.
that's
Is
true.
all.
Amen.
You need a heart full of love. You need a heart full of peace, and you need a heart full of willing to listen to good music.
Right.
You've got it. That's all you need. Apo was nice that way.
So
Because-
yeah, I mean a lot of people turned up. That's for sure, because I mean in a way home ground.
Yes.
Because Kothurud.
Perfect.
Backyard.
Backyard.
Backyard gig. So a lot of people turned up, and I think it was like we had really good response that day. So
Yeah.
I think it was also the people who made it like a fun game.
I mean, after the 80s gig, that was the first time where we got to actually express ourselves.
Yeah.
Musically. So,
Yeah.
and that was a good way to express ourselves, rather than because like it was technically the first raw gig that we had,
Yeah.
and first learning experience where we like I mentioned before, we decided to get used to this thing, because we'll always have bad sound, we always have minimal sound and all these fuck ups, as the greats would call it. But it
Do
was
you
good
guys
to play
do you
like
guys
that.
remember the set lists that we played at Apo?
I know
On the first gig, on the first Apo gig.
Yeah.
I know it included a bunch of Bob Weir tunes.
Yeah.
There you go.
There was Throwing Stones.
There was Throwing Stones.
Throwing
Man,
Stones.
Space is a
Yeah.
political band.
It is now.
Throwing Stones.
Yeah,
I
we
think
did.
we did touch, and we did a bunch of segues, and yeah, we did. Did we do something like not fade away into?
So
Yes.
yeah, I think we
Ico,
did like
Ico, not Fade Away.
four
Yeah,
songs
yeah,
of
yeah.
Good Loving.
So
Ico.
all AGD songs
Yeah.
we did.
in one chord
The next place that I would like to talk about is also something of a beacon in world music, to be honest. It's
Yeah.
a name. It's a name that you want on your music CV, to be honest.
Yeah.
Whether we wanted it or not is a different question.
That's a different thing.
We played a World Music Day show at that was 21st June 2019 at Hard Rock Cafe, Pune. Big place.
That's the only time we played at Hard Rock Cafe.
Yes. Big place, big sound. Very I don't know. It was a completely different experience from the gigs that we had played before
With a
that.
normal setup, yeah.
With a normal setup. So a completely new setup. How was it? How was the HRC experience for you? Because HRC is a label.
I think, I mean, a different experience for us at HRC was because we only played 3 songs in half an hour. I mean,
4.
Yeah.
Because
I
we
mean,
asked Sugary.
yeah, I mean, Prithvi said that we can do one more song, so
So we
that's
did
why,
one
that's
more
why we did. But the original setup was for 3 songs.
Yeah.
And I mean, musically, we went from G to A to B, which was the
Yeah.
Yeah.
is the setup. I mean, Tangled Up in the Blue is kind of a complex song.
Is it?
If you are playing for the first time, which we weren't.
No, and like the other thing is, like, at that gig, I remember the people that were coming to see us, not our friends, but
The new
People
people.
in
The
general.
new people. Yeah. Of course.
they were a part of this whole, we go to watch indie bands and we see all
Right.
these, and they were there to probably see music that was, as old as their parents or maybe older than their parents, and In fact, I said that. If you remember, I said that. I said
Yes.
this is a song that's maybe as old as your parents, but it's called Tangled Up in Blue. And what matters is what you bring to the place rather than what the place brings to the.
Of course.
That's a myth. I mean, I don't believe in that. Now the place is shut, so that's how fucking laugh over that. But it was a good experience playing as Space in a full setting with a full sound and playing for our people because a lot of our friends were there and so my experience was yes, I played songs that I loved and we played it reasonably well, let's say, but it was good finally to kind of emerge or hatch out of the egg that we were in for a while.
Exactly.
Because that was the first time where we sounded like a band rather than sounding like four people playing together or singing together.
Yeah, before that we were playing bedrooms basically.
Yeah.
We were playing bedrooms, we were jamming bedrooms.
Yeah.
So HRC was the coming kind of thing.
But I think we had our sound pretty well that night, I think.
Yeah, that was a good sound because we had a tight sound, right? We were tight on stage. There was no going here and there. That was the beginning of the monsoon which would change it all. Yeah, it was the beginning of the monsoon which would change it all. The next gig that we did was a big one. Okay, this was the second iteration of the Space and Company feature that we do, and now we are called. This happened at Euriska in Koregaon Park, and organized by our dear friend Janak.
Janak Pete Shapiro Churi.
Yes.
Janak Pete Shapiro Churi.
Again, we had a few bands come over. We had them play their original music.
Yeah.
We had them play songs which they generally do, which is their style. Your Father played a set. G2 Live played a set. We had Jodav play a set.
Yeah.
We had a few.
And we had some small acoustic
sets,
which was beautiful. Yeah.
Yes. So an evening of some very very intricate, new and beautiful music, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you remember about that Space set from Euriska?
The entire set.
in July 2019. That was July 2019. What do you remember? What's the first thing that you remember when it comes to that set?
I mean, we were at a diner.
She's beautiful. Yeah, no, but I tell you one thing. I think a lot of the shows in time, when we look at our set lists and we look at the way we played certain songs, they are constituted by how Dead and Company or how Steve came up and Friends or how J-Rad has played a show the previous night or the previous week or the previous month. And we always set our shows or the essence of the show around how that happened. So I remember there was a Vicious set the previous month or something in the tour, and I think it was one of those sandwiches that DNC did. And I said, we got to do a sandwich because now we are a couple of shows in and so a sandwich, for your information, is you start with the song and then you play every song in between in like a succession, not breaking ever, and then you end with the song that you started the set with. And so we did a Widespread Panic tune called Diner, and we went into every song possible ever, and then we came back into Diner.
I mean, we didn't stop. Yeah. We did not stop at all.
Right! That was the set where we didn't talk.
Yeah.
It was Don't Talk to the Crowd Day.
Yeah.
As we announced. We announced it rather shamelessly because now we're talking. But
basically the itinerary
this is the talk show.
The itinerary for that set was we came on stage, we said we are Space and Co. And here we go. We started playing Diner. Then we played for an hour. And then we said thank you and we went off stage.
Yeah.
That was the set. I think that was a very nice thing that we did because there is a very intricate word in the Marathi language, papat pasara. Our show had no papat pasara, nothing going here and there. It was just about the music, and one thing that I remember about that show is that was the best Scarlet Begonias that we have ever played.
like a slower
version, a groovy slow version. The best Scarlet Begonias that we've played, hands down. We had a great sound that day. We were sounding good on stage, and that helped us. That helped us channel those energies and create.
So one thing about Eureka, I think, like, not a learning curve for us, but I think a point of understanding for us is that that's where we got to know our eye contacts within the band.
Right.
Within the band.
The breaks.
The breaks.
The breaks. Those eye contacts where the song is leading now. And I think that's the gig where we understood, okay, this is where we are going now. And
so would you say that was the beginning of the jam element in the band?
Probably yes.
Yeah.
Probably
Because
yes.
Before that we haven't jammed a lot.
Yeah, that was the long set.
That was a long set where we started with the jam idea of the band. Right?
That was the proper rite of passage, because like all these bands, they really feed off of the sandwiches.
Yeah. You're
Feed
right.
off of the sandwiches.
Yes.
But so with Dead, it has always been a thing, right? Set 2 goes till encore, and then most times they are not breaking it. There's no break in between. They're always playing some. And one of the greatest sandwich that Dead ever did was playing in the band.
Yeah.
So they start playing in the band and they end the whole show with the playing in the band. And the encore is the weight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That was the
Beautiful.
Because the set 2 started with the weight. So there's a sandwich in there also, like a meta sandwich.
Sandwich and a sandwich.
Yeah.
So these bands really do that. Fish does that, Widespread Band. Government Mule was probably the first band that I saw do that, even before the Dead. I realized Government Mule does it more. And so that was our way of probably adding to the band, that element and that style of approaching the music.
So since we're talking about the music, before going to the next venues, what would you say are the offshoots of this Dead tradition that we explored, that we might have played, that we might have included in our set lists, practiced, heard, anything? Something that you heard outside of the Dead and you channeled it in your performance. Anything.
So I think Dead is largely a performance band.
Yeah.
And they improv quite a bit.
Right.
So one of the things that people don't know a lot and is not very out there is the Dead connection with the psychedelic scene. That is not related to rock and roll or country music or blues or folk or but it's also related to all the things that became the electronic music or electronic explorations. And whether it's repetition or trance stuff, there is a connection to Dead because Dead also had the trance element going for them.
Always,
With Mickey Hart's Arabic or Indian influences, and they always had those sounds coming in and out, and kind of having a marriage of all these various traditions and various locations in the world, because they call it world music, right? Mickey Hart's Planet Drums is world music, and so we tried to explore that quite a bit. I remember because during some of our space jams, as we call it, space sections, even in the early days of space, man, it's been 30 years. So in the early days of space, we tried to incorporate Mickey Hart's The Beam, which is like an electronic section which he does even today with in the drums part of the show. So we explored that. We explored the Indian classical part of it eventually.
Quite a bit. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later. That's a big part that the Indian music plays. Yeah.
But offshoots, as in for Dead, stylistic offshoots are everywhere. It's outlaw country, it's blues, it's bebop.
It's if you want to really say about it, it's an American folk band. In a way.
Folk band, right?
Proper American folk band.
It is an American folk band.
Yeah.
Because all their playing styles are from playing banjo and the acoustic guitar, right?
Yeah.
And going into the electronic setup then.
Yes.
So
I think it's the one band that never had eras that were strictly related to styles or influences.
Right.
Their eras were, they played the same kind of music, but they just used different sounds to express themselves.
For them, I think era was just the technological era which
because
was
it was
coming up, right?
the most technologically sound band.
Right.
Of course. They were always ahead of the game.
Yes.
MIDI guitars, they'd done it in the 80s. So few bands had done it in their
I mean, they built it.
Yeah. I mean,
They had a
Not
freaking
just
30-foot wall of sound in
Exactly.
the 70s.
I was just coming up to that now.
yeah.
Uh,
With double
But-
microphones.
Double microphones,
Yeah,
face
which was-
cancelling
which was-
microphones.
yeah.
What a
I mean-
fucking band, man.
In the 70s, what?
I mean, it's easy to brush them off as a band that sounds sloppy and he plays bum notes and everything, but you're not getting it. That's what I always say to people when they tell me that. Firstly, they're trying to explain to me what it is, which I mean, I have already had my fair share of trying to understand what it is. So I don't need people's opinions and whatever. But if you don't understand, you
It's a
don't.
state
And
of
I know
mind.
you don't because
It's a state of mind, that's all you can say.
So both of you mentioned a few bands that you heard and that you got inspired from. You said Government Mule, Fish. Can you tell us a little about those inspirations in the music itself? Atharva, you're a big fan of Fish and Trey Anastasio.
I mean, it's
so
like a latter era of, I think,
the
the
Dead.
dead. Because, yeah, I mean, it is.
Of course.
That's the truth, right? So, I mean, they did the same thing of community building.
Right.
Getting the community, getting the same musical aspects into the play. And I think, I mean, again, the technological era is again something that they did.
Right.
I mean, they use the technology that they have and they're still doing it.
Yeah.
Which is one thing that hasn't changed within them also, because their playing styles have like, I don't think it really changed, but the the pedals, the effects, and
Yeah.
just again their space sections, maybe those changed. But I mean, it's a similar setup which can be brought into the community.
So it's a modern
which
it's a
they
modern
got.
day Grateful
It's a
Dead.
modern day Grateful Dead. Yeah, it is. So it's just less people. Yeah. Less people, less deaths. So yeah. I mean,
that's because they've been playing together.
I mean, they're clean now. From one space to another space.
Right.
From
right,
dead
right.
to fish to dead, from probably saying from almonds to dead also
Yes.
fits in a way.
Right.
In some way, because I mean they did jam together
Yeah.
at one point.
Almonds are inspired by it. Let's
Yeah,
face
so-
it. I mean, there are
yeah.
people that have other opinions on this whole thing, but
So-
Greg Allman isn't alive to testify anymore.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, but no, Greg Allman will always have jubilant words to say about the Dead.
Of course.
Of course, he'll have jubilant
I
words.
mean, who do you think Butch Trucks was listening to?
Yeah, I mean,
Or JMO was listening
Yeah.
JMO, of
it's the whole-
course.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean.
No, the whole thing with two percussionists and
So-
two guitar players coming together.
So Dead did it in 65. I mean, older than the Beatles.
We don't talk about.
But I mean, in a funnier way, if you think about it, even government, I mean, almonds or like you said, fish or government mule. I mean, they all play stones in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
The music,
They've withdrawn.
by the stones. Yeah.
You're right.
I mean, everyone is in some way inspired, or I mean, they even cover their songs in
Yeah,
a way.
of course.
Stones was a big band.
But
Yeah,
63
and
was
the
the-
Dylan, man.
Yeah. Stones and Dylan.
And
Stones and
Dylan.
Dylan as well.
Yeah, so I
The
mean,
big giants of the 60s.
yeah, I mean, if you try to explore one band, that's where you get 4 more bands.
Correct.
Is how I think we got.
No,
into
that's the
music.
and that's the philosophy that even we've been applying to the music
Yeah.
that we play.
Yeah.
Okay, we listen to this band. Okay, fine. We'll go home. We'll do some R&D. We've done a lot of R&D. God knows we've done a lot of R&D. And then we'll find out कि this X band has done a cover of this song. We'll listen to that band.
Yeah.
Then we'll find new sounds.
Yeah.
Then we'll bring those sounds to the stage.
Yeah.
Then we'll do a new cover, a new band, new sounds. That's the I don't know, a positive vicious cycle, if you will.
Yeah.
Which I think has got it going for
And
us.
that's our only motive, I think,
Yeah,
to explore new sounds. So
very true. So
Continuing.
yeah, so all these why I wanted to talk about these artists was because even though we play a lot of Dead covers, a significant portion of our set list today at least is Dead covers. We are still the sound that we portray on stage is still inspired by all these different bands.
right, exactly.
And now I would like to get back on track about where we played all these sounds the most. We played three gigs at Swig Pune.
Yeah.
Swig Koregaon Park and Swig SB Road.
3 at SB Road and 1 at...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So both these venues, we played a lot of gigs. And this is where we, try to experiment with the sound then. Our set list changed.
Yeah, the set list.
We had
changed,
new songs going here and there. We had some 80s bops. We had some 60s jam tracks. It was all moving around. So how was the swing experience for you?
I mean, Swag...
Tell me about the face paint show.
Oh!
Wow.
So, that was the first time we played Swig SB Road.
Yeah.
Is what I remember.
Yes.
Yeah. And we did the playing sandwich. And I think by that time, I think this was 2020 January.
Jam.
Yeah, we were already
Feb.
way past
Yeah,
the
Jan.
19 of
Yes.
hectic
Yes.
year and whatever.
Yes.
And I remember you didn't play with us.
I was not playing
DT
that
played
show.
with us
DT.
on bass. Cash joined for a few tunes.
Perfect.
But what I remember is at that point we were so into the music and so into the various changes, and everything was like really like a muscle memory for us. And we decided to do playing in the band, which is not a very convenient song to do.
Yeah,
Let's say,
It's
because
not really like a same rhythmic song which you can
Yeah.
listen to while
It really-
practicing.
it really isn't. And we opened with that, and I remember Paddy was Pradyumna was very enthusiastic about fitting those rhythms, and I think in the first 2 jams we just got the hang of it. And then we had problems with the other shorter songs. Other than
I mean, we did.
And sadly there's no recording of playing in the band at
Yeah.
that show because something happened and there's no video and there's no audio as well. Which we had actually
I mean, there's I think a small 10-second or 15-second section of playing of.
But that was
playing
probably
the
one of the best moments, playing a very complex song where the whole band was, coming together and playing, and people were there to see us, and we were kind of feeding off of the energy. The people, we were trying to gauge what kind of a song should happen now. Like even in the encore, we suddenly decided to do Scarlet, which was not actually, we had planned as a, you remember?
And again, talk about having a setting which we watch in the shows.
Yeah.
So I think that was the time when
So Bob
Bob
fucked up,
yeah.
and then we also fucked up.
So we actually fucked it up that night.
We just went from one part to another and then came back and did that part. And then,
Oh man. Yeah, that
we
happened.
did Fire again. I think we did Fire as a jam in that.
Nice.
We did Shakedown for the first time that day in
Yeah.
the band. Yeah, we did playing Shakedown.
Nice.
That was a good set. In the Eskimo, we were also doing the deep cuts by the Grateful Dead at that point, and that was the good thing to know, because even though those songs were regular in the their history, they were not songs that people often did, especially in this part of the world, and so that was a good way of.
Also, we did Lindsay Buckingham.
We did an 80s tune by Lindsay Buckingham, or 90s tune, 92.
92. It's 92, yeah.
Cradle, from the Cradle album, Turn It On. So we did a bunch of those. Over the years, I think we had these long jams, and the only way to get past the time in between and the whole 1 hour set to make it look like we are playing more songs is to have these 3-minute 80s numbers and
Small numbers.
90s numbers, and just play some serious.
Just make it look like a setlist.
Yeah.
Serious jams.
So Turn It On was one of those songs. Lovers in a Dangerous Time was one of those songs that we often did.
I don't remember the set list that you guys exactly played, but there is one very core memory that is now attached. I was standing in the front, I was singing all the songs, and random person comes up to me, beer in his hand, comes up to me, taps my shoulder and asks, hey, what are these guys playing? Are these originals? Because the only person singing is you. And Janak was in the audience. So the both of us were singing Scarlet and Lovers in a Dangerous Time and all those songs. And this guy comes up and are these originals? And I had to restrain myself from explaining the Dead to him right then and there.
Yeah, because there's no such thing as covers in the Dead.
Yeah.
And we also played, I mean, weirdly, we also played Neil Young in that set.
Yes.
So, I mean,
We
Yes.
started with
that
Ramalai.
might be a compliment, maybe.
No, so
that we did it in our arrangement. In a
what
way.
what that tells me is that by the time we did that gig, you guys were on stage. So by the time that gig happened, Space had a definite sound. Space had a new sound. Let's say something of a reckoning to be had by the band. Space had that by that point, because it was a discernible sound, where a person could look at the sound, listen to the sound, look at the band and say ki, I have not heard this track, maybe it's an original. So either it was the sound that we were bringing and channeling from all these inspirations that we talked about, Atta, or it was a sound that was just completely new. And that is something that I'm proud of for this band.
Yeah.
It's a sound, even if it is a sound that we've brought, or if it's sound that we've produced, it's a sound that has not been explored.
Yeah.
It's something new in.
So I'll tell you what happens is, we can't guarantee shredding and impressive playing, Michelangelo Biccio, or very genius vocal sounds, where you're exercising or giving a workout to your vocal cords or whatever. But what we can guarantee is we are going to play something that you've never heard before, and that is as good as it
And
is.
in a good setting.
That is as good as it is.
Yeah.
So, but again, in the jam scene, there's no such thing as covers. So, I mean, there's so many bands in the US that some of our friends play in Grateful Dead bands, and so it's a world on its own, and
So like you said, it's a community. It's a community.
It's a
right?
community,
Even the songs that, let's say, the Dead wrote.
I mean, they were about the community in a way.
Yeah. So let's say
They're
that Jerry
covering
Garcia
it,
as the rights to the song. They might be rights on paper. The song, I would say, would actually belong to the community.
Yeah.
The community that listens, the community that plays, the community that appreciates. It's their song.
So what do you think Jerry Garcia was playing? Jerry Garcia was playing 3 Dylan songs in his set.
Yep.
He was playing 2
Almost.
JJ Gill songs.
Yeah.
He was playing 1 old bebop number.
Bebop number. Yeah.
1 soul number.
Yes.
1 blues number. That's his set list. I mean, there's so many songs that are not his own that he made his own.
Yep.
Over the years.
True that.
So that is what the legacy starts there.
No, and another great factor about the Grateful Dead was that they used to involve a lot of musicians coming in and playing and jamming with them.
Yeah.
You had singers, you had saxophone players,
Yeah.
you had drummers, you had percussionists, you had keyboard players.
Exactly.
Who used to come jam for a set and chill out and leave. And that is another thing that we are trying to channel right here. Like you said, Space and Company has played with 4 bassists and 3 drummers till date. So that's another great thing.
Yeah.
Alright, since I want to keep the headliner gig for the last, let's talk about how do I say it? It's a divergence in the road for Space. We actually went ahead and played at an MUN, that's a Model United Nations for Bishop's School.
It was an MUN.
It was an
It
MUN.
was an MUN, yeah.
So
I thought it was some prom.
No.
It was an MUN prom.
So the concept of an MUN in Pune is that it's a 2-day conference where at the end of day 1 they have something called socials.
Right. Yeah.
So socials involve food, drink, merriment in general, where all delegates from all committees, they come together. It's like an icebreaker session kind of thing, and they generally have some music, some DJs, or they go out to a bar and drink or something like that.
Right.
So for this particular Bishop's MUN, we were the entertainment. Quite a change in our
We
regimen.
were good entertainment for sure. We can vouch for that.
So how was that kind of thing? So this was the time when we were very confident with our sets. We were very confident with our music. We knew what we had to do. We knew what sound we wanted. We knew precisely what we were going to do there. So how did it feel when you were on stage, singing, playing, looking at the crowd? How did it feel? Because it was a different crowd, mind you. This was not the typical bar or pub scene where...
Exactly. I mean, these guys were students.
These guys were 14 and 15-year-olds who were listening to us, right? So how did it feel? How did it feel?
I mean, it was good spreading the music for sure.
Of course.
I mean, I'm sure, like, 100% sure that none of them heard the songs, which was, I mean, obviously, because I don't know, maybe if some of them did, then sorry. But I mean, it was actually great because they were actually, they were connecting to it.
Right.
Like, they were able to connect to us in a way because, I mean, the arrangement that these guys had before was basically just to sit down on the chairs.
Yeah.
And by the second song itself, everyone was on the floor and having fun, which talks everything, right? I mean, it speaks everything about the set.
Yep.
So I think that's the highlight of that show because, I mean, it's awfully difficult to please 14 and 15-year-olds.
Yeah, but I'd like to credit Pradyumna for that because a lot of the songs were upbeat songs, and I think we chose them that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But Pradyumna has a certain style to him that he's always on a spring, or always in a like a feel that is very nice to dance or to get in the groove or that kind of thing. And I think he really pulled some of those songs, especially Love Light,
Yes.
Home on the Range. At the end, we
did
Home on the Range. Touch of Grey. He did some of the songs really well over the years, and I think it was just something that over the years. Man, 30 years, getting old.
30 years, man!
But over time, he's just he really developed that style about him, which I don't think he would have developed anywhere else. And I think hopefully he'll agree also. But I don't think playing Four Non Blondes or playing Hotel California, or play, all these songs would have really not made him play any of that.
I mean, to actually mention that, I mean, some people actually did tell us. I mean, our friend Janak came up to us and he told us that they want.
They were Hotel California.
Yeah, Hotel California or.
We always
some,
got that.
Yeah, some 80s rock or something like that.
Yeah.
But instead we chose to play Touch of Grey. So, I mean,
And we got by.
and yeah, we got by, and and we did not disappoint them at the end of the night. Is what I meant by that.
Precisely. Yeah, because
because-
even after people heard songs that they didn't know, they still had fun.
Right. Exactly.
Because we were not like an atrocious rock. I always, like whenever I think about that gig, I always feel like we are in the 50s, and they always said, no, parents always told, we always see this in movies, they always told their kids, rock and roll is the devil's music.
Yeah.
You should,
Yeah.
like gospel is the real thing, or you really need to
Church
focus on
music.
folk and church. And I always feel like we played a fucking school, and there were teachers, probably
They were dancing.
headmasters, headmistresses, and principals, and students, and the
Yeah.
peons, and everything. And we played a school. It was a Catholic school.
Exactly.
Or whatever. Exactly. And we were not labeled as a devil's music or whatever. We were playing actual music, so we had our fair share of
Dealing with the
Catholic
dead.
school, Catholic school gigs.
I mean, those were the cornell days, man. Those were the cornell days. Yeah, hey.
Right. So that was Bishop's fun time. Coming to the cul-de-sac of 2019, the big culmination of 2019. Deep breath. Go on.
Yeah.
Guru Bar Anjuna, November of 2019. काय म्हणतात, a day written in the stars, let's say. We played as an extension of G2 Live, to be honest. Let's get the facts.
I'll tell you how it goes.
Please do.
Bob Dylan in the 60s decided that the band is his backing band.
Yep.
Neil Young in the 2010s decided that Lucas Nelson and the whatever his band is, they are his backing band. My father, who's a big figure in Anjuna, Vagador area, decided Space is his backing band. So we ended up traveling with him to Goa.
Yeah.
We ended up playing a couple of gigs
Yes.
as G2 Live and Co.
Yeah. That was G2 Live and Company. Yes.
And he just said one set is yours. So first set we do a bunch of known numbers,
Claptons and Blues and JJKs.
which we did, which is a wonderful set obviously. And then he just said one set is yours. and we did all the numbers because Guru is like this place where we really love to play and we're always thrilled to play, and we just like the vibe, we like the people, we like the hospitality, the sound, the stage, the beach, the booze, the babes,
The bees, basically.
the three B's. Three B's here and now. And
Also a good song. Please put a link to that in the video someday. It's a good song.
so it was good to play there, play and sing some of these tunes, some new numbers. I think first time we did like a proper standing on the moon
Yes.
number
Yes,
over
yes,
there.
we did.
We did Sugary, we did Scarlet Fire, we did China Rider.
Did all the segues, basically.
All the
Yeah.
well-known segues we did.
Yeah.
That was a night to remember. That trip, that Goa trip, in fact, was
So while
Night to remember.
something to remember. Yeah,
that was a night. Those 5 days were a night to remember.
was a night to remember. Yeah. Guru was the culmination of it all. Actually, we played a couple of gigs here and there, and then we did Guru Bar. Best place to play a gig, hands down.
Yeah.
Beautiful sound. So I think that was the big culmination because
Our Belga friend showed up.
our Belga friends showed up. Yes, in fact, because our Belga friends were showing up, the psychedelic voyagers were showing up. We
Psychedelic
actually
Voyagers, we love you. Again, I think every
Love
video
you
gets
a lot.
no, I distinctly remember the morning of the show. We woke up in the afternoon and
Morning
we-
of the show in the afternoon, yeah.
Yeah. It's like that poem, right? What's that other poem go? In the middle of fuck it, I forget. It's some oxymoronos poem. One fine morning in the middle of the night, two dead guys woke up to fight. Yeah, that's us. In the middle of the morning, we woke up in the afternoon, and we actually got our guitars out and practiced the songs because we didn't want to disappoint the Belgaum gang.
Yeah.
They're actually good connoisseurs of music, so they know what they're listening to, and we actually practiced. That's one of the rare occasions where we sit down and practice songs before a set in Goa. But we did that. We pulled off a fantastic set. There are videos available on YouTube and Facebook. Please hear what we did on stage back then. That was a moment to cherish in all of 2019, I feel.
Yeah,
So-
especially since we didn't see the whole lockdown thing coming and
Yeah.
Yeah.
like something to happen, and so that was a really nice.
Yeah, this was
And
what,
to the-
3 months before the lockdown.
Yeah.
No one knew that this was coming. The place was packed and everyone was nicely, cheerily listening to the music. People
Yeah.
were dancing. There was a European couple doing some.
Are we going into details now?
No, they were doing some contemporary dance moves on one side of the stage.
Right.
Random.
Right.
Randomly, they just started doing some contemporary dance, some slow movements and all. That was a whole new vibe, right? That was a whole new vibe that we explored, that we got to see, and they got to see because of us as well.
Right.
So that was nice. Okay, we've talked about the January set in at Swig Jan 2020. 2020, as you know, was the COVID years.
It was the best year for everyone, man.
So
For everyone.
So one big gig that happened that I would like you guys to talk about is Urbo.
Oh
We-
man.
Space and Company played Urbo in 23rd February of 2020.
Yeah, it'll be
Uh,
50 years now.
So
So how was that experience? What was that experience? What was the gig? Tell us what the gig was.
we were ruthless, we were shameless.
And we were musicians.
We came, we saw, we kicked his ass. His being the whole whatever.
Everyone else.
But yeah, it was a kind of a gig where everybody's who's who was going to show up, and we had another sandwich I think planned, but I think it was a sandwich, right? We
was
just
a
broke
sandwich.
and then we did
Yeah.
turkey, egg and so on. But yeah, it was a sandwich, and we did a bunch of songs that we'd already done a few times, and we had Kashmir.
What was the band? Yeah. What was the band?
So Kashmira was singing a couple of songs, but she joined the whole set and she sang backing vocals with us.
Yeah.
TJ Tushar was playing
Bass.
bass with us. and we were kind
That
of
was the extended band, yeah.
yeah, and we were really like by that point we were too into the whole the music that we were playing. So we were well rehearsed. We were thorough with most of the music, even if there were few fuck ups, but we didn't. We were good enough to not make it seem like they were fuck ups.
Right.
And at that point, I was really confident while going up there. Like, I wore shades and everything. I said, this is what I'm going to do. Even Paddy wore shades.
Yeah.
To bowl to देख ऐसे. And so that was a real like this thing, to play without any stress, without any fear, without any nervousness, whatever. And at least Porosari sound were, everybody was there. Harry, Joel was there obviously at that time. The first time I met Joel,
Yeah.
so that was a good gig, great sound, great stage, and we got to play some brilliant music. Let's say, music of the gods, as I call it.
Of course.
Some good stuff, and yeah, I like to think it was one of the best ways to go into the pandemic and the lockdown.
Yeah.
Because throughout the pandemic, I never felt like, man, I should have played one gig. But that was the gig.
That was the gig, yeah.
That was like a colorful gig,
Yeah.
right? Without
Totally.
shirts and and everything. Everything was like,
Everything was colorful.
we're done. We're gonna be
Yeah.
fucking good. That's it. That was the whole point of the gig.
Yeah, definitely the gig to, cherish about just before going
Into the lockdown.
Because I think right after like 10 days after.
Yeah. This is
After
15,
the gig,
15, 20
yeah.
days after the Urbo show, we had a lockdown.
Yeah, so I think,
And everybody was there.
I think I can just say that it was like an amazing experience because if you were there,
Yeah.
I think
Of course.
that was the gig where you say that if you were there,
You saw space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You saw space.
You
It
know
was one of the
that,
gigs
yeah.
where we had our fair share of a nice parking lot. Which, because the lot is the big thing with the Grateful Dead, and Urbo has a nice parking lot at the back that's like very cute. And we parked our cars. I don't know, maybe I had a few swings of ready mix.
We don't.
But so the lot experience basically. So the whole fucking man.
Yeah.
We'll have to, if you're talking about the lot, we'll have to go through the whole gig list again. I mean, there has been some very good parking lots in our itinerary for for Space and Company.
Some good pit stops.
Why are we going to pit stops?
No, I mean, petrol and everything.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, of course we had some petrol. we needed some fuel always.
As my dad calls it, actually तुमच्या side is a water cooled engine. So it's a water cooled engine, so you need some fuel.
Correct.
Some water, some fluid to keep going.
Right. Wow. I went back into the pit stop for a second.
It's been a while.
There'll be a video for that. I'm sure.
Yeah, of course.
Whole video.
Yeah. Right. So after that was the lockdown.
Yeah.
We worked on our own music. We had some good music coming out. Atharva, you had an EP come out in the lockdown in the whole year. Shanti had original music coming out in April of 21. It was a dormant year for live performances. So Space was kind of dormant throughout the rest of the year, from February to. So I think the next iteration of good dead music that we got to hear was in January, when you guys kicked it off with a duo set at Swig again.
Yeah.
So how was that? You guys played some original music as well. You played some songs from your album. You played some songs from your EP, and you guys played Dead. So how do you think that? You guys played Corona Cha Baila Lagu as well in that set.
Which was our
Yes.
song. Yeah.
So TKB. So how was the comeback?
The setup was going to be very different, which it was in a way. But we decided that we are just going to stick to his originals and my originals, and
Right.
maybe one or two
Dead songs, covers.
just cover songs. We didn't really decide which songs, but
Yeah.
we were in a way we'll do one or two songs which we know.
You guys did Scarlet. I remember you guys doing
But
Scarlet.
honestly, we didn't think that people will turn up that night.
Yeah.
Was the concern. Honestly.
But the house was packed then.
But it was
It was packed.
yeah, it was
It was packing.
pretty much packed according to the I mean
It was a good night.
It was a good,
Sure.
it was a good evening, yeah. So that was, I think, the string of acoustic shows that we did.
yeah.
You guys did a set, then the two
We
of
did
us
a-
did a set,
Yeah.
and then the three of us did a set.
Yeah.
This went from January to March, where we did some acoustic
Till the
gigs,
lockdown again.
till
Yeah.
the lockdown again. So that was, I think, that was a good time to get a shift on the gears.
That's right. Yeah.
Because-
Getting back to playing in front of people. Basically.
Yeah,
That was a
basically.
time when that
Basically.
happened.
And on a different sound, because the last time all of us had played on a sound was on a, we had electric guitars, we had a drum kit, we had a loud big
Like a
sound.
full set.
Yeah, full band, and then us stripping down to acoustic guitars,
Yeah.
bare vocals and bare minimum sounds. That was a good awakening for the band, I think. After which we came back with a bang in September last year.
Yeah.
I know. We got a gig in September after a long time.
Yes. After being dormant for a while, we got to play at Swig SB Road
Again. Yeah.
with Kalpesh on drums, playing with us again. Very soon, yeah. So that was the big comeback. What was the thing that was new?
I think there we truly explored our roots beyond the San Francisco scene of
Right.
Grateful Dead and the Haight-Ashbury side of space, let's say, that we have. And I think we truly went into a direction where we were heading for a long time, but we didn't explore, which is some progressive music in the realm of electronic
Yeah.
groups in Goa, let's say, or psychedelic spacey music of the UK, which we had never considered. because we never got into it that much.
Yeah.
And when we were playing the Dead, we were hardly listening to any UK bands other than, let's say, the prog bands that we always listen to. Yes, Genesis and Pink Floyd, and a little bit of all these kind of. But we ended up playing something from the Canterbury scene.
Yep.
Which is a Canterbury scene, offshoot of the Canterbury scene, the Hawkwind stuff, and this is also something that our dear friends in Belgaum and Psychedelic Voyagers also appreciate and love, because they enjoy. I mean, that's really their kind of music,
Yeah.
more than the Dead. And so we were finally coming full circle with the whole spacey thing that we had, and we explored some upbeat numbers, some fast numbers, I would say,
Yeah.
which was not our thing for a while, and some music that was from the UK part of the jam scene, let's say, or the
So
improv scene.
It sounded different entirely.
Yeah. So it was very different. It was very different. Firstly, it was different arrangements. And,
Yeah.
and then it was different compositions. Just a different set of various influences that
Right.
we probably
Yeah.
never explored before. And so that was a good turning point, because we still have those songs in our set list. And
We'll be doing those in a few days.
Yeah.
and we need some sounds, we need some keyboards, we need some technology now that we are so far into our tenure as
Yeah,
as a band.
no, I would like to rather say that we are light years ahead now
Yeah.
from where we started. We are light years
Yeah.
ahead, and you need new technology. There's no two ways about it. So, and we're getting there.
I mean, I think what different September gig was from the rest of them was, I think we also channeled the old stuff that we used to listen to, and then we explored again
Right.
in the days of lockdown, where we were listening to a lot of music again, just to explore the musical
Right.
sides again.
Yeah.
And I think we channeled out I think a fair number of bands or musical styles, which
True that.
now we bring it in space and
Yeah.
go right now.
So you know what I feel. Back in the lockdown, there was a few months where we used to listen to a lot of jazz.
Yeah.
Miles Davis.
Miles
Miles
Davis.
Davis.
Mostly.
The entire
Mostly
April.
Miles Davis. We got a lot of Miles Davis done, and so that was a learning curve. So even if we didn't actually fit or practice or rehearse Miles songs, we still had those in our ears. We still had those in our brain, and so that somehow shows up on stage. Be it be it
Yeah.
be it unconsciously or something like that.
Yeah.
It does show up on stage. That is for sure.
It does, yeah.
Especially the improv and the.
Yes, absolutely. So the way we approach our parts when it comes to an improv, when it comes to a jam section, the way we approach our parts is very different from what we did in 2018 and 19, and what we do today is
Yeah.
completely different. I think Miles has a big part to play in that
I think
because
so.
we spent, like I said, we spent a lot of time listening to Miles.
Yeah, we did.
Miles and other fusion stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of
Zakir,
fusion
El
stuff.
Shankar,
Yeah.
Trilok Kurtu, and you will listen to Shakti. So we were, and still we do.
Yeah, of course.
Because
Of course.
Yeah, it's just that we didn't like we heard them before, but we didn't listen to them enough to
Yeah.
we
probably
use it as a
yeah
Yeah,
tool.
as a
Yeah.
tool.
Because
Yeah,
everything is a tool.
of course.
right. Of course.
But so now that we have that in our arsenal,
Right.
I mean, maybe we can't play notes like Miles and his band, but or Shakti maybe, but since they काय ते संस्कार झालेत ते आपल्यावर. In a
I
way.
mean, it is inside us right
Yes.
now. Everything is
Yes,
inside us right now.
precisely.
It's I think just where and when it comes out. It's just
Yeah, correct. You're right.
that show.
You're right.
So
Some show.
a lot of dead songs don't really allow that.
Yeah.
And so we ended up not playing
Not
some
Yeah.
dead,
Yeah.
the way we used to. And
Yeah.
some Bob songs do really. Bob Weir's arrangements are a lot of jazz and Indian classical oriented. You can play that stuff over it.
Correct.
It's not
I mean,
oriented
you
by
can.
that.
Yeah, you can. I think you can try playing
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
But I think Hawkwind allows that. We've never done Gong yet.
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 Soon. What was that? Gone?
What's that in the sky?
Oh.
Does that can fly?
Oh. But yeah. So that was different.
Yeah. So that was
We're
the-
still on that. We're still
We're
in
still
that
in that
stage.
stage,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
We are still doing awkward stuff in our
That's
set
the
lists.
SS 2022.
Yeah, the awkward stuff is still in our set lists. The Canterbury scene is still in our set lists. Hopefully, we'll get even more of that soon, along with an amalgamation of the Dead and other jam and experimental
in
artists.
the upcoming
Now that-
festival era.
Now that we have a keyboard player.
Yes, of course. Coming to that, what's the scene with adding sounds to the band? Like you said, we have a keyboard player now.
So
What's the deal behind having a new sound in the
You
band?
come to the show and you see.
yeah, I mean people can they can probably see a full circle of what started as a very rudimentary arrangement or rudimentary entity of a jam band, which I don't think I've seen many jam bands that are just three
Sans
piece
the
of-
keyboard player.
Yeah, and so and they're all great keyboard players. So whether it's Government Mule, Chris Robinson, Brotherhood, they'd obviously had 4 or
Fish.
5 keyboard players, and
Fish.
Fish is one of the
Purple
greatest.
keyboard players.
Yeah,
ever.
Dave Matthews Band.
Dave Matthews Band, of course.
So there's quite a few. I mean, too many to name, but and again, we tomorrow we might have a sitar player, we might have a saxophone player, or like a brass section, or so it
Yeah.
keeps it's always in the moment with space. But right now we've got a good keyboard player, our dear friend Harsh, who we've played with for so many years, and
We love you, Harry.
so yeah, and he brings a certain sound which he'll debut now with us. So it's gonna
It's
be
his
fun.
debut now.
Yeah.
Right.
It's gonna be good. Maybe he can do some of the Bob chords more authentically now.
I think we actually had a discussion about that during our last practice.
Bob plays the way he does because of the
freedom. He has the freedom because of the keyboard player.
We can explore now the new sounds that
Of course.
we were
Of course.
being
Maybe we'll
restricted
stick
of
to
now.
having a keyboard player.
Yeah, of
Because we
course.
discussed it a lot. It just never
Materialized,
materialized.
Yeah.
So now we've got a good chance to do it. So we are doing it.
Yeah. Hopefully we get to play a few fests down the line. We're starting to get those opportunities, and let's hope that they come to us more and more often. One big opportunity, and this might be the last topic that we discuss in this video before we culminate it, is new space music. Can you tell us a little bit about the new music that Space and Company is going to make.
It's a big album.
So there is an album.
So yeah.
Is this
Yeah.
is this confirmation of new music?
Yeah.
Okay,
It is.
brilliant.
I think we've had our fair share of insecurities with having original material sometimes, because I mean, at least I have,
Yeah.
because we always make original music
Yeah.
together and you make original music which
Yeah.
we contribute to. But Space has never had a really, like a solid body of original work. In spite of having played a lot of material that other people have written in our own way. But yeah, I think, but it is something that is probably not expected of a jam band, I would say. So I think it's along the lines of some of the bands that are not considered a part of the jam
Right.
or the Hate Ashbury scene,
Right.
which we really celebrate and honor and
I
love
mean,
to.
it can be a 2022 jam band scene now.
Possibly, yeah, quite possibly.
But I think it's probably a new sound, a new approach. Maybe for some people it will sound indie, for some people it will sound pop, which it is,
It
because
is, it
I
is.
like to think every music is pop. Once
Yeah, it
one
is.
person has heard it, it's pop.
It's pop, yeah.
And so pop is a very large word, and it's not necessarily a bad word, really.
No, of course
So-
not. Pop is a time-bound word.
So yeah, we are exploring multiple sounds, and the important part is the three of us are working on it. So in spite of having multiple drummers and multiple members coming in and out in our band, we finally decided to work just the three of us on original material at least. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, of course. Can you tell what the album is going to look like? What it's going to sound like a little bit? Just like a. As far as I
And
know,
you are an integral part of the song that we did. So
That we have in our hands as of now.
So it's going to be it's going to be an EP. It's going to be an EP. It's not going to be a full-fledged album
Yeah.
as of yet, but sure, I'm sure that future iterations will be full albums. I would like to say that it's a thinking man's music. It is either music that will make you think, or it will make you realize what we have thought when we made that music.
Right.
Right. I would also say I can't describe this sound. That's just
I think
that's beyond I don't even know. I don't
That's
have,
beyond the logic.
it's
yeah,
some
I mean,
it's some ballsy stuff that comes together with some wanky stuff and it just makes some good noise. That's it. It's that. I don't have adjectives, I don't have onomatopoeia. I can't put it in words. Because
We have absence to blame for. I mean, if you just really want to. सोडून द्यायचं त्याच्यापुढे.
No, we'll also talk about those things. Okay, wait. As far this album is concerned, it's something that we've wanted to explore for a long time. Like Shantanu said in the beginning of the video, there's going to be some Indian classical sounds in this one. There is lots of inspiration from lots of Indian classical stuff that we've heard, we've channelized and loved, and we're trying to put all of that into these three songs
Yeah.
that will show up soon. I don't think we've not finalized any names or anything for.
Nothing is fine.
Nothing is finalized, right?
No.
But the one thing that we can confirm is that new music soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, talking about what you just said about absinthe.
so we have to discuss the. I guess like when you talk about. I mean, we just spoke an hour-long, hour plus history of the whole band and the whole thing. I mean, we derive ourselves from a band that largely is synonymous with drug addicts, because most of the audience is drug addicts, and then the members of the band are also known to have the occasional penchant for psychedelics, and the whole scene is psychedelics and everything, and So we wanted to talk a little bit about, I mean, I at least wanted to talk a little bit about drugs and the whole myth behind drugs being a
Making-
catalyst for
Yeah.
making good music and everything, and I like to think it's all balls, because I wouldn't have made the music I've made over the years if it was only up to the drugs, because we don't
I mean,
support drugs.
any of the addictive substances.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, and
Not just, yeah.
And so even though we derive ourselves from such a phenomena, such a juggernaut of psychedelia and everything, we are nerdy people. Like like a lot of bands that take pride in being nerdy and having the not the affinity to such substances. We are like that.
Yeah,
And
we are
we
those
value
people.
the sounds more, we value the music more, we value the creative process more than
than the recreation that is offered by these substances.
because this whole alteration of realities and whatever alternate reality and everything, reality perception as they call it, a lot of people, and some people can't create without drugs. It's all bullshit. None of that exists. I mean, it has
Kids.
worked for a lot of people, but it has also gone downhill for a lot of people.
Don't do drugs, kids. It's bad.
So not a PSA, but I guess this
Yeah,
is something
I mean,
that this band needs to put out there.
Yeah.
If you make it through to
To here.
But-
This is where you know.
but that is the reality. It's not the drugs.
But
It
yeah.
never is. I mean, something else always makes you more high. Drugs is just a coping mechanism, not a.
Especially the hard stuff. I don't know what it's called.
Especially the
I mean, you can't really categorize
the
it. It's
syringes,
just drugs, man.
the papers, and
It's everything.
so
So, I mean, you do you, but
never
But,
done,
that hasn't worked for us.
hasn't worked for us yet.
and it will never work
Yeah.
for us because
I think we have like a setting within us.
It's something that we're just not excited about.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's not key. We want to do that.
Exactly.
Not
doesn't
at
infatuate us.
No.
That's
Definitely not.
Yeah.
And again, you'll have the argument Jerry did it, but I tell you, Jerry did it to cope with his stardom. He was not the kind of guy that ever.
Wrote music on LSD or something.
Yeah,
I mean, even if he
played
did,
and
maybe he did. You never know, but I mean, it turned out pretty well.
but his
But yeah, I mean,
The
it was
heroine
for
and everything.
different reasons, obviously. It wasn't for writing songs.
for everybody it was coping. And if you do it before you are that big or before you are sought after at that level, then you are looking at the wrong things.
Yeah.
To be to sought after.
I mean, we have the 27-28 club in our music.
But they were
which
still
is-
famous. So we are talking about
Yeah.
young people that are nobodies, but they still promote it. They still showcase it.
Yeah, no,
It's
it's people our age who we meet and interact with. I've heard people say, I've talked to people who have said ki I can't write music without indulging in certain
That's bullshit.
spheres.
That's straight BS, man.
So,
Yeah.
So please get help, because it's not something that is to be taken lightly, and certainly it's not the only way to be creative. And if you hit a roadblock without it, then time to relearn, reestablish.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
one good thing that comes from space is the unlearning and the relearning part.
Yeah.
Because I found out about the unlearning process while doing some theatre. You have to unlearn when you're acting on stage. When you have to portray a character, you unlearn who you are in reality. You learn the characteristics of whatever character
Yes.
you're playing, and then you play that. And that is exactly what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And none of that involves any kind of substances, additive
Never did.
substances,
Never did,
nothing like that.
Yeah.
If it's nerves, you might want to seek some other help for it.
Yeah.
If it's coping mechanisms, there's much more different things that you would
I mean,
rather
music
do.
is a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
How can there be something to
Cope with music.
Music, yeah.
It's a dicey space. It's a weird space. It's a very subjective space. You
Space.
never know.
It really is, but then
You never know
Yeah.
what the other person is seeing, feeling, going through.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
yeah,
I mean, we drink a little bit, but that's a I mean that has never been our creative fuel.
I think it's just social.
It never was, and so
Socially.
It doesn't make sense to have it as
for
a.
us.
It doesn't make sense to have something like that as a creative fuel, right? No.
and we don't promote it. We only say that it would the music would be a little better if you probably reach a certain space, and so that's why we are space.
Space.
Yeah. So that's again up to you. If you want to, please do. If you don't, please don't.
Yeah.
But so yeah, about the.
Before it turns into an advertisement.
No, so this should be a PSA. This
Yeah.
should be a
It
PSA
is.
ideally. That
Because we want younger musicians to
yeah.
come out of nothing and not be carried away by the whole glamour of being high and
Correct.
being drunk or being that's not what we are all about.
No.
That's not that's not where we started. So
Definitely.
Actually not.
so
Definitely.
we rehearse seriously, we record seriously, we write seriously, and we work hard. Even if it is a bad set, it's almost like a cricket team.
Yeah.
Post match we have a meeting, and we're kind of but it's never about getting high or getting drunk or yeah, the occasional party is fine. Like Ravi Shastri says, have fun, do whatever you want.
Play a good game, you get reward.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mr. Shastri. Epitome of
The monk.
yeah.
As you might have realized, we enjoy talking
Yeah.
just as much as we enjoy playing.
But when we want to talk, we make such things. We don't
Yeah.
go on stage and lecture people about things.
तसे preacher नहीं है अपन.
We're not
We're
preachers,
not
guys.
तसे preacher नहीं है. I would never call us preachers. I would rather call us storytellers at best. At best, we are
Yeah,
musicians, yes,
of
but
course.
storytellers.
That's where we are storytellers.
Even the music is a story.
Exactly.
That's what.
It's never preach.
Yeah.
It's tell a story.
It's told.
So thank you. Space. Signing off. See you around.
Have a good day or good night.
And hopefully we'll see you soon at some festivals that we play.
Yeah.
Stay
Catch
tuned.
us live
Stay
soon.
tuned for those details.
Keep loving. Keep believing. मला असं खूप वाटतंय की नाही भेटत